Hey guys, today we are going to be talking about how to budget for a wedding. Yes, this is very important. We're going to be talking about budgeting for a wedding with debt, without debt, budgeting for a wedding, period. It's a big enough topic where it does not even matter if you have debt because it's an expensive thing that you're about to plan for. So let's get started, babe.
Yeah, so you guys know both of us, this is our second marriage. So we have lots of experience, unfortunately, between the two of us. Fortunately, actually. And like Maria said, regardless, whether you're in debt or you're not, or you're paying for this in cash or whatever, these are some things you can think about, some ways that you can think about your wedding and planning for it that just kind of work for us. I think if you summarize anything you get from us in this topic, it's pick what's important to you and your significant
Not your mother.
Not your mom, not your grandmama,
yeah.
not your friends, not so-and-so.
Not in comparison to Becky's wedding.
Yeah. Don't get trapped up into the notion of having to have a glam wedding or having to have something that somebody else has. You've got to pick what's important for you. And roughly what Maria and I did is we picked 5 things that were important to us. And we really sat down and we talked about it. And I think we had a 6th that we were thinking about, but we ended up like really sticking to those 5 things. So
for us, being married in a church was number 1 on my list. Well, it was number 1 on my list. I knew that my first wedding first marriage, I was married in the courthouse. In this marriage, I wanted to be married in church, which I know is kind of backwards because I got a divorce, but it was important to me. I wanted a church wedding. The second thing that was important to us was our photographer. We didn't worry about a big videographer. We really wanted to focus on capturing it in stills. So our photographer was very important to us. We were not going to cut corners on that. Now, our church is easy. You can go pretty much rent any church that's rentable, but a photographer is a little bit more tricky. So you have to do some research if that's one of the things that you want. What was another thing?
Rings were another thing. Rings were important to me.
Okay.
Maria truly didn't.
You guys see I'm wearing
She
a
wasn't,
band today.
huge on having a ring, but I knew that was something that was important. And we didn't go like all out per se, but I wanted her to have something that signified the token of love that I have and had for her. The 4th thing was the honeymoon. That was important to us as well.
I think that was more you.
It was a little bit of both because you wanted us to be able to travel.
Yeah.
Traveling
is big for me.
But honeymoon was important because that's just she and I.
Us,
That's just us. And I'm scraping the
cake.
Cake, that's right. Cake and flowers. Not flowers, cake.
I did
Cake
my
was
flowers.
important. Yeah, Maria did her own flowers. There's floral stuff in her background.
So yeah, like you guys, I have so many tricks on how to budget a wedding. If you guys need some help with that, I definitely could do another video on just some tips, but I might just throw them in here, but we'll see how much we get into this. So with our 5 things in tow, 5 things that we had to do really well. Here's some things that we did not care about.
You didn't feed everybody.
We didn't even care. We had a daytime wedding. We had it at the church. We had the reception or a meet and greet type of cake and punch setting in the basement of the church, in which I did do like tablecloth rentals and just other things to kind of decorate up this church because it was just a smaller Baptist church and they used their basement. It wasn't a dedicated space for these type of events. So
Maria didn't go hog wild on her dress. She got a good deal on her dress.
I got my dress, my shoes, my slip, everything for $800.
Yeah, so she didn't go hog wild on that. We didn't have a huge wedding party.
Another way to save a significant amount of money, because it gets expensive. Even though your bridesmaids are responsible for their dress and shoes, in which I allowed my one person, my maid of honor, maid of honor, they're not married. She's not married. To wear something out of her closet, as long as it's black, and black shoes, you can't go wrong with that. Just keeping it simple. Now back to us not feeding everybody. This was important for us because feeding people can cost about $30 per person.
Food, and if you're planning to have something like a large venue where you can serve food and alcohol or some type of beverages and stuff, that adds up very, very quick. And for us, this is our day. And as much as we wanted it to be a celebration, and I would argue that if we were getting married to each other for the first time, that probably would have been a similar approach that we would have taken as well. Did we sit down and set out a finite budget that we will not spend over this amount? No, we didn't. But we kind of at least had ideas. This is we talked about finances before extensively. This was an early test for us because I think we did pretty well actually. In Maria's flexibility of being able to generate cash and, hey, I'm gonna work and do a few more heads, or I've got this coming in, and I knew what I had coming in, and we were able to work pretty well together.
We were able to pretty much do our whole wedding within 3 months, paying everything pretty much besides the honeymoon and the rings in cash. We both had debt, and that was something that we did not want to add to. We did not want to get married and have $30,000, $40,000 in debt for one day. Like $30,000 and $40,000 is a house down payment on a very nice house.
And guys, I'll be honest, her ring, the way that our marriage situation worked out, and I think if you guys, there's our proposal video is up.
I'll link it in the description box below.
But I didn't know, I was trying to save and wait up and this and that, and I got a deal at a jeweler local in St. Louis, and I think I paid off her ring in 2 years. So that is an example, but it's also an example of something that is an asset for us now. And Maria is on a ring trade up plan. We joke about that, but one day she'll have another ring of some sort, and what we'll do is instead of trading her ring in, we'll keep it, because what we'd love to do is be able to pass down, whether Garrison uses the ring, the diamond, to propose to his future wife one day, or Maria's earrings. I want to be able to pass these things down through the generations, and do something like our parents weren't able to really do for us yet. Not that I know of, at least. So, but yeah, that's the most important thing that we can say to you guys is pick what's important to you. Be practical. You do need to overlay it on your budget and really figure out, hey, it's going to take me X amount of dollars to get this. That may take you some time to save up. We don't encourage you guys to put a ton of stuff on your credit cards or to take a loan out or liquidate your 401k. I do think, like Maria said, it's one day. And the way you should think about this day is it should be
intimate.
It should be like a trampoline. It should be the thing that propels you into a really wonderful rest of your life. It should not be a hole that you dig yourself into and bring in financial stress over, because the real fun actually begins after you get back from the honeymoon, after you get done getting married and you start living together and working things out. And the last thing you want is an albatross of a ton of debt that you're having to pay off in your marriage. Now, if you're that couple whose parents are going to pay for it, or you've got some assistance from a grandmother or whatever, the only thing that I would say to that is just make sure you think about what that individual may be sacrificing. Now, if they can take out a checkbook and tell them to subscribe and tell them that we accept donations. I'm just joking. But if they can take that checkbook out and they can write the big ticket items for you, I would just say honor their generosity, whether that's a parent or someone else or a future spouse's parent. Honor that generosity with a lot of humility and thanks. And do not be a bridezilla. Don't be a groomzilla as well, if that term exists. But enjoy your day. It is your day. We look back, we laugh, even in the tough times. We look back at some of our marriage pictures. I probably, in some way, shape, or form, we have them in places on social media or on backdrops of phones that we probably see them at least once or twice a week. And it's those are very precious and special memories for us.
Okay, but let's get back down to the meat and potatoes of budgeting. Now, you picked your most important things. Now you have to think about your income. Let's say that this is between you and your bride or groom to be. Okay, let's say you're not getting help. We had help. My mom helped with food. She ended up doing a sandwich station, and she provided the beverages and things like that. But let's just say financially, money-wise, you have help from no one, to just keep it kind of easy. Things that you're gonna wanna think about, like my husband mentioned, I am a hairstylist, so at that point I was working in a salon, so I knew that my money was liquid. I was not set to a scheduled pay, which meant that my money could fluctuate. If I needed to make more money, I can run a special, I can work longer hours, I can do whatever I needed to do to make the money to pay for said wedding. Now, if you have a more set schedule in your finances, as far as like my husband getting paid weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever your financial schedule is, there are going to be things that you're going to have to think about. We did ours in a short term. We did not live together before we got married, so we weren't trying to prolong the process. We're both adults here. We were ready to get the show on the road. So we knew that I literally start dating my husband in like February. He proposed to me in May. We were married by August. Okay, like that's how quick of a turnaround it was. When you know, you just move forward. Of course, we had history, all of that. Okay, that's not what this video is about. But you really have to look at what you have that you can put towards the wedding. And then if you write down those 5 things that are super important to you, think about how much each one of those things costs, and you can kind of start to create your budget around that. And then you look at what you have, and then it'll take you how long, you'll be able to calculate how long it'll take you to fulfill each one of those things that you want. It might be 3 things, it might be 2 things. It doesn't matter what your things are. You just need to write them down so that you can have a starting point on where your money is going to go and what's important. Because once you get into it, I'm telling you, small stuff comes up nonstop. And this is not really stuff that the groom has to deal with as much. Like it would just be like, okay, for instance, we did a punch. I think what I called it was a cake and punch reception, which meant that we were gonna serve cake, that was one of our things that we wanted to be nice. We did a really nice cake. We were gonna serve a beverage like tea, water, some sort of juice mixture, and I had an extensive candy bar. That means my candy bar had tons of candy options, chocolate fountain. It was a very nice candy bar, and so I was responsible for buying all the candy, and that was our gift to our guests. We did a wishing well. We weren't asking people to do anything like go out and buy us a gift. We ended up registering because so many people asked us to register, but we did not do invitations. We did magnets. Like we saved money in other ways. We built a free website which had all of our information on it. If you received a magnet, it also said to go to our website and RSVP through our website. Nobody had to send out postage. The only thing we spent money on was getting the magnets made, sending them to people, and that was it. Nobody had to send us anything back. If they were elderly and needed help with reservation, with RSVPing, somebody else can help them with that. We just made it very simple and very to the point. It was about us. We focused on that and we stayed focused on that. And I mean, people had stuff to say. My own mom was like, so you're not gonna feed them? I said, yeah, we're not gonna feed them. We're getting married at 2 o'clock. What time we get married? 2. That means the wedding will be over by 2:45. That's not lunch. That's not dinner. We're not feeding them. Sorry.
I think the biggest thing that what Maria is getting at is only expectations that matter in this are you and your significant others. And as long as you all are happy, as long as you're pleased, as long as you're not angry about something. And remember, anger is just when you expect something and you don't get it. That's really what counts and matters. I'm not going to tell you that your mom or your mother-in-law or a friend is not going to, their expectations are not, they're not going to have an opinion. Of course they are. They're close to you. They want what they think is the best for you. But if you can articulate what you want in those 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, if you got 15 things that are important to you, either your paper is really long or you might want to whittle down your list. There's nothing magical about 5, or you're just going to have to be engaged for a while to figure out how to pay for those 15.
Or you're going to take out loans and have debt. And hopefully the debt is paid off before you start to have children or want to buy a house or do anything else in the future.
And we definitely wouldn't encourage I think the average U.S. marriage or wedding is like $32,000.
Not me.
Wedding planners out there not trying to take any money away from you, but
I ain't doing it.
I would say
and you
one
see,
day is not worth that.
You see, we doing all right now. Yeah. So you have to really evaluate what's important to you. I'm telling you, there are people who have parents who, and hopefully we're those parents to our son and daughter, and we can do that for them. But you know, it's okay if you don't have that. You just have to be creative and you have to be innovative and take it back to like when they threw rice at the church house. There was no reception. They drove off and was on their honeymoon. And that's kind of what I took ours as. I did a very vintage style wedding. We had the reception in the basement, as I mentioned before. It was not the best place to take a ton of pictures. So because we had our wedding so early and our photographer was high on the list, we got a great photographer who gave us X amount of time. Our wedding was done and over. We drove off to beautiful locations, had incredible, timeless, gorgeous pictures, and he was returning his tux before we went out and kicked it with our friends that night. So it's about what you guys want for yourselves. We weren't housing alcohol, we weren't housing DJ, food, all of those things.
We're not knocking those
things.
No, that may be your
I would have loved to have done that, but it just wasn't high on my list. Those are things I would have loved to have done, to dance the night away and it just go on into whatever and party, but we still end up going out. And our friends end up throwing us something at a local restaurant / we went over to a lounge, and we still had a wonderful time with our youthful friends. We didn't offend anybody who doesn't want to be around drinking or anything like that. It just worked out so perfect for us. And I just think if you think outside the box, that your budget does not have to be so extensive and so strenuous on your marriage that's just new. It's a newborn. So
I will say this, and this is there's an important principle that I've seen in some places, and I do kind of agree with this, but I'm gonna put a spin on it. The wedding day is the first place where it is tested, where a couple has to live within their means. So the principle that I've heard is, you know, ladies, try to do a good job as best as you can to live within your man's means to be able to provide for you. For some folks, that's a little bit archaic because we're in situations where we're dual income earning houses. Our house is that way. We try to live off of mine, but both of us work. But going back to that, if you set a budget and you say, I've got $20,000 that we're going to spend in some shape or form, and you're walking down your list of, let's say you have 7 things and you get to number 5 and you've exhausted, you know, your 20,000, then you're gonna have to figure out how to come up with the balance, or say, you know what, the 5 are the good, or I'm gonna move number 7 into the 3 position and, you know, work things out. So find a way to make sure that, again, your wedding day is one of your first examples of having to live within the means of your own household, of the ability for you and your spouse to provide for each other. And it's a beautiful experience if you allow it to be. And again, I harp on this, this is your day. This is your day, not anybody else's. Don't cede that to anyone else's. Their expectations, chances are they've been married or are gonna get married. And hey, as long as they're not paying for a significant portion of it, and even if they are, I would still argue that it's your day. So.
Totally your day. And to touch on being married with debt. Okay, so say you and your significant other to be you guys have a ton of debt. There are other options. Justice of the peace, going to the courthouse, having a small ceremony at your home, working together as a team to get out of debt so that maybe you can have a 5-year renewal or a 10-year renewal. There are other options. I don't think that you should allow money to stop you from living in marital bliss. Like,
here's another tip as well. Okay, if we're just trying to truly be practical, there are tax implications if you get married. So there's a difference between, hey, we're kind of struggling, but there's a couple things that we just really want, and you get married in March of a year and you have to wait until March of the next year to claim that tax benefit, versus, I know it sounds a little crazy, but go ahead and get married in November or December, so that way when you roll around and get your W-2 in January, you can file your taxes as a married couple. So again, I'm not saying go get in a ton of debt. I'm just giving you a practical example of having kids. You can't really always control when you have kids, so you can get that tax benefit, that credit of having a child. Well, you can control when you get married, and getting a little bit married or incurring those charges later in the year. But then to get that little boost, if you get a tax return back, that's just something that may sway your decision of when you get married. So,
good point. So that's our little snippet on getting married on a budget, without a budget, just making it easier for yourself. It's a wonderful thing if you have the money and you can have this elaborate, wonderful fairy tale wedding. And it's a wonderful thing if you don't have the money, because the bottom line is marriage. And that is the main focus here. A wedding is a wonderful thing. It's a wedding because you're getting married. It's not a wedding because you have a ball gown and a ballroom and a DJ and 20 servings of food and a champagne toast. That's not a wedding. That's a celebration party. But a wedding is I-do's between you and your significant other. So
yeah, you can always have that on like a 10-year anniversary.
I was trying to tell him.
Subscribe.
I hope you guys enjoyed this. We will be back with more videos in our financial series and I guess in our finance series. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye. All right, guys, make sure you check the description box. I'll have links to all of the stuff you see in this image.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. We really enjoy having you as part of our viewing community. Please make sure you subscribe. We do post new vlogs weekly, and check out our older vlogs as well. There's a lot of great content there. And while you're at it, also look at our Small Talk playlist. There's just a lot of great information about family, finances, marriage, just general stuff that we go through, and I think you do too. Again, subscribe. It's our way of knowing that you like what we're putting out. We really enjoy this, and we hope you do too.